super important. One of the things I want to share that's super important is with any healthy team, culture is the number one thing that we have to keep in mind, which is why I wanted to lead with culture. So the first thing is it's important to respect and honor each employee. This is a big one because people need to know that you care. People need to also feel respected and honored. And a lot of times when we say respect and honor, people are wondering like, well, wait a minute, sometimes we have to hold people accountable, and we do, but it doesn't mean that we can't hold people accountable and still respect and honor them. Encourage a culture of collaboration and innovation. This is another big one. We can do a lot by ourselves, but we can do so much more when we're working as a collaborative group. And then innovation. A lot of the stuff that we do, especially in human services, is really rooted in folklore and tradition. And so when we get down to the heart of the matter, you ask yourself, why are we doing this? And a lot of it is because we haven't allowed anyone to be innovative. And so super, super important. And then remember, leadership happens at all levels. This is a big one for me because when people are working for agencies, people need opportunities to be leaders. It doesn't mean that they're going to start running the whole organization. But what it does mean is they need opportunities to build and enhance their leadership skills. And leadership really does happen at all levels. When you think about those agency specific projects, does it have to be done by you? Or is that an opportunity to allow someone else to lead? And for those of us that are busybodies, those of us that, we kind of like to be in control, it doesn't mean that we can't still give our input. It just means that we need to allow somebody else the opportunity to lead, because out of that oftentimes comes some very creative things. And then don't get so focused on the agency's goals and outcomes that you lose sight of the well-being of the team. I'll tell you, I am a 200%er and I like to hit every outcome. And not only hit the outcome, I like to supersede the outcome. But we have to make sure that we don't get so focused on the outcomes that we lose sight of the well-being of the team. This work that we do is hard work, but it's hard work. And what'll happen is when we stop thinking about the team, we burn people out. We burn people out because we get so focused on the outcome. And so we have to make sure that we don't lose sight of the well-being of the team. We have to check in with people. We have to sometimes ask ourselves, is that something that we need to take on? If we take that on, do we really have another staff member that can take on that role? Or are we going to put this on the current team that we have? Is this something that we need to do next quarter? So we just have to make sure that we're always keeping the well-being of the team in sight. All right, so how to manage with a heart. So it's important to respect and honor each employee. And you heard me talk about that. You're going to hear me talk about that a lot, because as we're doing this work and we're working with managers and senior level management, middle management, and even doing staff interviews, a lot of people, that's a common theme. People say, I don't feel respected. And so you're going to hear me talk about that a lot. But staff need to be provided the knowledge and support to do a good job. Do people have what they need to do a good job? Just because you hire people and you give them a job description does not mean they have what they need to do a good job. Do they have the knowledge and support that they need to do a good job? And a lot of times this means slowing down, because you all know in human services, a lot of times we are down positions, things are moving really fast. It's like, I don't have time to stop and provide a lot of training. I just need somebody to get in there. I need somebody to know what they're doing. But do they have the knowledge and support to do a good job? Because when people don't have the knowledge and support to do a good job, they're not going to do a good job. And so you have to make sure that you slow down enough to do that. So a manager's job is to help other people succeed. How many people believe that? Just raise your hand if you do. It's your job to make sure other people succeed. And that's a big one, because a lot of times what happens is people say, I really need a different team, and the people that we got, and we haven't met our outcomes all year, and we flip that back on people. Okay, so let's talk about that. What have you done to make sure the team succeed? And people say, what you mean? They should already know how to do their job. They should bring some skills to the table, but it's your job to help them succeed. And so one of the things I'm really passionate about, and if you spend any time around me, you'll know this, I'm really passionate about modeling and coaching people, because that's how you help people get to the next level, is by modeling what seeking excellence look like and coaching people to do a good job. You can't just expect people to do a good job if you're not helping them. It does not work that way. And a little nugget, it's not on here, but I'm very passionate about this, so you'll see me go off the script a lot. But one of the things that I really want to challenge you on is looking at how often you're sitting down one-on-one with those individuals that you're supervising and those people on your team. Because a lot of times what'll happen is people are struggling in an area, but they'll never come and tell you. And so how can you help people if you don't know what's going on with them? So what'll happen is there'll be a big deadline or it'll be a big project, and then they don't hit the outcome in the way they need to hit it. And you say, well, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you ask for help? Well, you never created an opportunity where people could sit down and have conversations with you about the things that they need to work on. So remember, it's your job to help people succeed. Communication need to be open, honest, truthful, and tactful, right? You can say anything to me. It's just how you say it. Open, honest, truthful, and tactful. That's the bottom line. That's what it is. Because a lot of times what we do is, we like to skate around the problem. We need to skate around the situation, but we just need to be open and we need to be honest. If someone is not doing a good job, or there's an area of growth that they need to work on, you need to be open with them, honest, truthful, and say that. And then also tactful. Remember, a lot of times it's how you say things. It's how you say things. So you can't just come off the dome, say things in a way to people where it's like, okay, yes, I just ripped you a new one, but go ahead and go right back to work. It needs to be tactful. And if you're one of those people that are passive aggressive and you avoid conflict, then email me afterwards so we can have some conversation, because communication has to be open. And if you're struggling with those areas, you're going to struggle with communicating with your team. And also, don't hide behind other people, because when we're coaching people, a lot of managers do that as well. Opposed to saying, I have a problem with this, or this is an area of growth, they say, well, this is coming down from corporate. Well, our CEO said, the CFO said that, the receipts. No, own it. This is open, honest feedback. Just own it and be open and honest. Have an open door policy. This is a big one for me. We're all busy, but nobody is that busy to where you can never meet with anyone. And you don't want to establish a culture in your business where, in your place of employment, where people say, oh, yeah, no, she's always busy. He's always busy. No, you're not going to be able to meet with them. You may leave a message with the admin, or you could try emailing them, but they're not available. Have an open door policy. There are times where we all need to close our door because we just need to buckle down. But for the most part, you shouldn't be closed in to the point where people can't reach you. There are a lot of issues that go on in organizations because the managers check out. I have my door closed. I got things to do. I'm not meeting with people. And then when things blow up, well, I had no idea what was going on. It's because you're not reachable. Nobody can reach you. So make sure that you have an open door policy. Take staff feedback seriously. Make sure that you have a method to gather feedback in a way that makes the staff feel safe. This is another nugget that you want to tuck away. How do you get staff feedback? And then take feedback seriously, because a lot of times we sit in offense. When people give us feedback, it doesn't always feel good, right? The feedback isn't always, oh my God, this is the best agency in the world. Sometimes the feedback stings a little bit, as it should. And we have to take staff feedback seriously. If a staff member comes to you and say, hey, when I had that situation going on with my kid, I went and told my manager and it made me feel horrible. It made me feel like I could never take a day off. I felt like I was belittled. We need to take that feedback seriously. And then ensure we have a method to gather staff feedback that makes them feel safe. If you all will go to the chat, let me know, how do you gather feedback in your organization? Do you have a suggestion box? Is it in team meetings? What does that look like? Because a lot of times people have things to say, they just don't feel safe. So how do you gather feedback in your agency? And you can just drop those in the chat real quick. I just want to get a feel for some of the things that you do. Okay, teams one-on-one. We have touch points. I like. What else? And like I said, if you don't have a method, that's cool. Just email me afterwards and we're going to talk about that. We have regular team meetings, surveys. Okay. So one of the things that I'll say about team meeting open door, okay, I like it. One of the things that I'll say about staff feedback, if you don't have it, and I know a lot of you all do staff surveys, make sure that the surveys are anonymous so people can feel comfortable saying what they need to say. Because when we're doing surveys and we're meeting with agencies, the first thing people say is it's confidential, because there is a fear of retaliation. And another nugget that I'll give you is, and we have some examples of this, if you don't have a culture plan for your team, that's one of the things that you want to suggest getting. You want to create a culture plan, because in that culture plan, you all need to agree as a team, one, how you communicate with each other, and then two, what is the best mechanism for feedback? So if I need to give feedback to a manager, what does that look like? If there's something egregious and I want to do it discreetly, what does that look like? And then colleague to colleague, how do we give feedback to each other in a way that still promotes a positive culture within the agency? So super, super important. Provide your team with the tools they need to do a good job. This is a big one. We meet with people all the time and we're like, okay, and they're like, well, you don't understand. We have one copier and we can only make copies on Friday because we can't use too much paper, and then the ink is super expensive. Okay, well, how do you expect people to do a good job if they don't have the tools that they need? This is something that you should also be assessing a couple times a year. Do you have what you need? Is there anything we can do to make your job more efficient? Remember, we know we're working in human services. There's not just a pot of overflow money that says, hey, we're going to buy things every day. But what are those essential items that people need to do a good job? Because if people are saying, hey, well, sometimes we have to go and buy things ourselves, then you're not providing them with the tools they need to do a good job. And if they don't have the tools they need to do a good job, they're not going to feel good about doing their job. So you need to make sure that you assess for those things. Allow time for team building activities. Stop being so deep. Stop being so deep. You have to have time where the team builds synergy together. And so you have to infuse this into the culture. You have to make sure that it's infused in the culture and there are time for team members to do things together, because you have to be vulnerable around each other. If you can't be vulnerable around each other, then you can't trust each other. And as leaders, if you don't make it a priority, it won't happen. So if you're not doing it once a month, then at least once a quarter, it should be time for team building activities. Because I may not be I may not necessarily be a friend with you. We may not be besties in the workplace, but I need to know something about you, right? We need to have some type of connection. And the only way we can do that is through team building activities. And like I said, sometimes we're so deep, I'm just here to do my job. When I leave, everything I got can fit in the Publix bag. Don't worry about me. That may be true, but we need to learn things about people so that when something comes up, hey, okay, yes, I know Amber has a daughter that just had something happen in the district. Hey, is everything okay with your daughter? Hey, Tracy, okay, yes, what about this? What about that? So we need to allow time for team building. That's how we build synergy. And then be accommodating to the staff when it's needed. We're not taskmasters and people are not robots. So sometimes we have to be accommodating. If someone has to go to the school and take care of their kid, or hey, I need to run out and handle something during the day, it's okay to be a little accommodating when you need to be. Because we most of the time in human services, we ask people to give 200%. And so it's okay to be accommodating when people have to take care of something. Like I said, people aren't robots and we're not taskmasters. So we don't need to be to the point where, if you're leaving for 10 minutes, you got to make sure you use some leave time. Those are not strength-based cultures that we want to foster. And so we need to make sure we're accommodating. And then all team members are human. Everyone makes mistakes. So one of the things that we say around here is, hey, I'm raggedy today. And when somebody says that, we know, it's one of those days. I might forget to send an email. I might send a blank email. Who knows? But what we do know is that team members are human, right? Everybody makes mistakes. And if you're perfect, email me afterwards, because I haven't met a perfect person yet. And I would love to talk and figure out how you're perfect. But everyone makes mistakes. Remember that people are human. People are human. There are so many people who are hiding things in agencies because they're afraid to make a mistake. And so a lot of times when people leave and we're going in to work with an agency on a transition plan, we discover all this stuff. And you know why? It's because people were afraid to make a mistake. And so we have to make sure that we allow people to be human and we remember everybody makes mistakes. And then the next thing is encourage an energetic workspace. What does that look like in your workspace? Can people do fun things for the holidays? It's Friday, it's breast cancer awareness. We're all gonna wear pink shirts today. Hey, let's have a door decorating contest. Okay, it's St. Patrick's Day. Let's wear our green today. Infuse energy in the workplace, right? This is already, it's hard work, but it's hard work sometimes. And so people need to have some energy. Sometimes we go in places and everybody looking like they beat down and depressed. And it's no energy. And they're like, we just here. We just doing what we do. And I can't stand spaces like that. I couldn't. I'd rather work in a tent in the parking lot. Would not work for me. So we need to make sure that we're encouraging an energetic workspace. People serve up to the level of how they feel. You ever see somebody that's energetic and passionate and happy about their work? It's because the culture is contagious and they love coming to the place that they work, and everything about it is energetic and it feels good. When you see people, woe is me, it's usually because it's a mundane workplace and there's no energy in there. All right, any questions about that? Because I know that was 2 mouthfuls. All right, if anything comes up, feel free to go off of mute and then put your hand up and we'll talk about it. So we're moving. Next slide. All right, so we talked about this a little bit, but be open to feedback from team members. Remember, I said feedback doesn't always feel good, so you got to make sure that you're open for feedback. And with this one, make sure you check your body language, right? Make sure you check your body language. Make sure you check your face, because when people are bold enough and they're getting the courage to give you feedback and they sit in front of you and you give them a side eye, they're like, I'm never going to come back and share anything with her again. So be open to feedback. And like I said, check your body image, check your face. You all are probably just like us. We multitask a lot. And I know one of the things that people have said to me over the years with managing people, like, Lashawn, you got two phones up to your ear, you checking the email, you doing all this kind of stuff. But when people are giving you feedback and sharing, try to stop what you're doing and focus in on the person. And like I said, I know I'm guilty of that because I'd be doing multiple things. I'll hear them and I'll respond, but I'm turned around, I'm doing all this and I'm doing all that. So just a little nugget. Make sure you check your body image, your body language, check that face, and then also make sure you try to focus on them. Create a space for sharing ideas and opinions. Again, in your staff meeting, are you coming just reading policy, telling people what we need to work on and giving information? Or are you creating a space for ideas and opinions? Because this is a big one. This is the time when everybody on the team get together. And so one of the things that I would encourage you to do is create a time on the agenda where people can share ideas and opinions. You may assign this to somebody. This is a great opportunity for someone to take on a leadership role when it comes to this. Hey, they may email everybody in advance. Hey, this week you got 2 minutes on the agenda. This week, next month, you got 2 minutes on the agenda. Give people the opportunity to share their ideas and be creative. And then when it comes down to opinions, a lot of times we like to push policies down on people. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. So you have to give people time to share their opinions. Sharing an opinion doesn't mean that anything is going to change. What it does mean is that people have the opportunity to be heard. So make sure that you save time for that. Because if you don't, what'll happen is you'll just be pushing things down to people. And people say, you know what, it doesn't even matter because we don't have an opinion anyway. They're just going to tell us what to do. And people won't be enthusiastic about the changes. But if you allow people to share their opinions and say, that's great feedback, we're going to take that, we're going to share that with whoever we need to share it with, let us go back to the management team and see if we can tweak that a little bit, then people will feel better about the change. Make sure you check in with all team members periodically. You should meet with the entire team at least once a year. This is one of the things that we definitely stress with executive directors, as well as managers that are supervising multiple people. At least once a year, you need to check in with the entire team. As much as you love your managers and your team, your coordinators and all of that, and I'm sure they are amazing, people need to know that once a year, you set aside time to hear from the entire team. Because if not, they never have an opportunity to really sit with you and share how they feel. And this doesn't have to be something where you give up an hour for each employee. You may schedule them in 15-minute blocks. Hey, you know what? June coming, the end of the fiscal year, for 2 days, I'm just going to schedule out time for one-on-ones with each team member, just to ask people how they feel about the work. Do they have what they need to do a good job? And is there anything that you can do to support them? Some people will come in and say, everything is amazing. And then some people will come in and say, oh my God, I've been waiting for this meeting. Yes, these are the things that I want to talk to you about. Learn something about each team member. What are their likes? What are their hobbies? This is a big one because a lot of times what happens is when we get ready to do stuff for people, we think, okay, yes, this is great. People should be excited because as an agency, we're doing something nice for them. I'll give you an example of this. Years ago, I wanted to do something for the team and got everybody Starbucks cards, right? I'm thinking, okay, everybody likes Starbucks. You could get coffee, you could get tea. And there were a couple people who came to me in private and said, hey, Miss Lashawn, I don't know, that's not my thing. And I didn't, and initially I was like, well, wait, that's kind of ungrateful. But as I grew as a leader, what I realized is, well, yeah, I'm pretty much saying everybody liked this one thing. So I moved from doing things like Starbucks to Target, right? Because Target is something that everybody can go into and pick one thing, or Walmart or wherever. So I made it my business to learn a little something about each team member. And that's something that you can send out at the beginning of the year. Hey guys, fill out this sheet, give me your favorite snack, give me your favorite team, your hobbies, what about this? So as things go on over the course of the year, you figure out how each person likes to be celebrated, right? Because in addition to learning something about them, you need to know how they like to be celebrated. Everybody doesn't like public praise. Some people are extremely embarrassed when you praise them in front of a large group of people. Some people, they thrive on that. Oh, you want to celebrate me? Let me do a twirl, right? Some people like emails. Some people like cards. Doesn't mean you're going to do those things all the time, but the way you manage people, your management approach should be able to foster a culture where everybody feels celebrated. And you need to know that about people. For some people, hey, we're doing our one-on-one, our supervision outside the building today. Meet me at the coffee shop. That'll fill their cup up for the entire year. You just need to know how people need to be celebrated and what works for them. Because remember, the ways you like to be celebrated and the things that make you happy does not work for everybody. And our goal is to manage the entire team and manage them well. So we have to personalize our approach. So the next thing is be open to sharing something about yourself. It doesn't have to be deeply emotional, just something that each person will remember about you. It'll show that you're human. As I said, it takes everybody our organizations, I like to describe them as a melting pot. And everybody have their strengths and everybody have their areas of growth. And we can't do it without one another. So even if you're in a management position, senior leadership position, people still need to feel connected to you. So don't be so deep that you don't allow your human to show. People need to know a little something about you. Who's your favorite team? Things like that. We meet with people all the time, and as we're doing interviews with the team, they're like, yeah, we have a good relationship with everybody but the ED. And those are the moments where we have to swallow real deep. And when we unpack that, like, yeah, well, they don't come to the meetings. They don't, interact with the team. So we don't want to have those type of things where your ED or our program director, we barely see him. And that's because you're not spending time with people, and people want to be in relationship with you. Like I said, it doesn't mean that it's deeply emotional. People really want to know that you see them. They want to know that you see them. One tool and tip for that is if you're supervising a lot of people are under you, you may be supervising the middle managers or program directors or executive officers who are responsible for making things go round. At least once a week, walk through the building, allow people to see you. You don't even have to have a whole lot of conversation. Hey, how are you? Just checking in. Everybody good? It will begin to shift the culture in the atmosphere because people will know that you care. So remember, nothing deeply emotional. People just need to know that you're human. And then also be proficient so that you can fill the team in when needed. It means fill in for the team when needed. It means a lot when you can take something off of a person's plate. It doesn't mean that you need to know how to do everybody's job, because you're probably not going to know how to do everybody's job, but you need to be proficient. If somebody is struggling, as leaders, we need to be able to fill in, right? We shouldn't have somebody out on leave and they come back and there's a stack this high sitting on their desk. We need to be proficient enough to look at what's on their plate. And if it's not something that we can get done, we can at least make sure that it's covered. But a lot of times, especially with transition and human service and nonprofit agencies, things fall through the crack because nobody else is proficient in what the team member is working on. And people need to know that you can fill in for them when needed. It means a lot when you can take something off somebody's plate. Can I do your duty for you? Hey, you know what? Come in a little late on Friday. Don't even worry about that. Either I'm gonna catch the phone for, an hour or two, or I'll make sure it's covered, but we got you. And most people usually say, seriously? Yes, seriously, we got you. Don't even worry about it. So be proficient, at least have an idea of what it is that people do, because it means a lot to people when you can fill in for them. Any questions or comments or anything? All right, Miss Vanita, I see you. I see you. I got you. All right. So identify opportunities for staff to attend trainings and community events. This is a big part of shared leadership, right? A lot of times people they want to grow, stretch, and evolve. And so what opportunities, and trainings that they can attend, what is it, an opportunity for them to present? And if they go to trainings, a big leadership opportunity is for them to come back and train and share that content with other team members. If you haven't registered them for the UPHS conference, make sure that you do that this year, because a lot of times what happens is we oftentimes as leaders and managers, we go to the trainings, but we never provide training opportunities for our team. And so people don't get that one-on-one, that hands-on interaction with other people. And then people are operating in silos. We get calls all the time. Hey, we're looking for an agency that does this. And we're like, oh, of course, that's so-and-so. They're like, well, I had no idea. It's because there's no opportunity for people to interact with other people. So you want to identify opportunities for people to attend trainings as well as community events, because people need to network. And then from a leadership perspective, if people are allowed to facilitate at trainings, it does two things. It gives them a leadership opportunity, and it allows the community to know more about your organization. So you get kind of a 2-for-1. So each staff member should have a development plan. This is really, really a big one for me. I'm really passionate about this. What are the areas of how are you trying to stretch and grow those that are on your team? Because when you're doing their performance evaluation, okay, you got a 3, you got a 4, you're doing good. That's a big part of it. But the development plan is, what are those areas that you need to work on, or what are those things that we're going to put in place to help you get to the next level? What are those things that you need to grow in? Because a lot of times we just jump to the doing, box check, boom, all performance evals done, but then there are no development plans. And people won't stay places where they feel like they're not being developed. So we want to make sure that each employee, each team member has a development plan. And even for senior leadership, we're not above it. We need to be grown, stretched, and developed just like everybody else. So everybody should have a stretch goal. So we want to provide opportunities for growth. Employees are more likely to stay when they feel like they're being challenged and stretched. And you heard me talk about that. Everybody needs opportunities for growth. And like I said, that does not always mean that I'm going to give you a big raise at the end of the year. What it means is I'm going to send you to a conference this year. What it means is somebody asked me to sit on the task force. I'm not going to sit on the task force. I've already submitted your name, and I think this is going to be a good opportunity for you. Be a fan of teachable moments. I love teachable moments. Love it. A lot of times I'm not teaching, somebody is teaching me, because we're all growing. And so be a fan of teachable moments. Every situation with our team members, our staff, is not a punitive moment. Sometimes there are teachable moments. Hey, got a minute? Can we have a conversation? Let's unpack that. Let me know what your train of thought was with that one. Be a fan of teachable moments, because we all know what it's like to make a mistake, right? And we didn't want anybody bamming us when we didn't do necessarily do what we needed to. We didn't do what we necessarily needed to do. So let's be a fan of teachable moments. Hey, got an idea? Why don't you try this and tweak it next time and see how that works for you? Teachable moments are important. So coaching and modeling, big thing. It's not enough to tell a person to do something. Sometimes you have to show them. You have to show them. Well, I told them they needed to get it done, but did you show them how to do it? So remember that. Telling people is not going to always be enough. Hey, you know what? Let me sit down knee to knee with you, and I want to show you, if you format that this way, it'll come out. The formatting will stay. You'll never have to do it again. You know what? You're having a hard time meeting with clients. Let me know what time you're going. I'm gonna join you on the home visit so that I can just I want to just show you how to build rapport. So next time you come up against someone that's kind of fussing and cursing at the door, I think if you do it this way, it'll help you get in. Sometimes you have to show people. You can't always just tell people what to do and expect that they're going to be able to do it. And this type of management, it takes time. It takes time, but people are worth it. People are worth it. And so you have to make sure that you take time to coach and model. So be dripping with passion. If you're not excited about the work, the team won't be excited about the work. You should be a cheerleader for each member. Now, I can tell you, working in human services for 20 years, I have my days where I'm like, you know what, I'm over it. But that's not my norm, right? My norm is like, oh, hey, Amber, what about this? And we both like, girl, wait a minute. No, we not doing that right now. Let's wait. Let's do that a little later on in the year, because sometimes we get so excited about offering a new thing, or let's take on a new project. But one of the things that people will say is, I can see the passion. I can feel the passion. You're dripping with passion for the work. And everybody should be excited about the work that you're doing. If you're not excited about the work that you're doing, you need a gut check. You really, really do. Because sometimes we stay too long. Sometimes we stay too long. Sometimes we don't take enough time off. And remember, you should be excited about the work you're doing, because if you're not, what's in the head flows down into the body. And you create a culture of, oh, woe is me. Yeah, we just here doing the best we can. And that becomes the culture, opposed to, you know what? Hey, we finna kill it this quarter. This quarter gonna be a quarter like nobody has ever seen. You should be a cheerleader for each member. And then a lot of times what happens is, when you're not, people will come to you with creative and innovative things, and then they just feel shut down. And we talk to people all the time. They're like, yep, I was trying to, set up something for staff birthdays, but, I just kind of got shut down. So I'm never going to open my mouth again. It'll be what it'll be. So we don't want to do that. We want to be a cheerleader for people. And then be innovative. The same approach will not work for every staff member. This is a big one, because people say, well, I've been supervising people for 40 years and I'm just going to be how I'm going to be. And I say, that sounds good, but your employee retention rate is below 60%. So maybe that approach that you're using is not working. So we have to be innovative. Everything doesn't work for everybody. Some people, you go in, you meet with them, they're going to always do what they need to do. For some people, they have a whole lot of strengths, but they struggle. Especially people who have been poorly managed. And I've managed people who have been poorly managed, and they have a lot of trauma. And so with these people, knowing that the approach is not going to work. These are not people that you want to give feedback in a large group, or even in a small team meeting. These are the people that anytime I'm giving any kind of feedback, I need to make sure you're alone by yourself. I have my sound machine on, my white noise machine, so that nobody's going to hear what's going on with you. So you have to be willing to try different approaches. It's the same thing when people struggle with attendance issues. Sometimes the punitive, well, this is what it's going to be, okay, so talk to me. What's going on in the morning? Well, I'm going to just be honest with you. My kid can't get to school until this time. And I've had people, and I'm like, all right, so opposing you being late every day, why don't we just say you're going to come in at 8:30? Okay, oh my God, that would be amazing. That's a lifesaver. Because me getting on to you every day about being late and you doing that whole walk of shame, that's just not a strength-based approach. So we have to make sure that we're innovative and we try creative things, because our goal is to support those we supervise. All right. So managing with a heart is also being able to manage change very well. So change is constant in human services. So you need to be prepared for it. You need to be prepared for it. You can come in one day and you know what? Hey, this changed. So you have to be able to manage change well. Be okay with having to retool once changes are made. I know people who this drive them crazy. They like, I don't want to keep on changing things. But sometimes you have to be okay with retooling. Retooling. Ask yourself, is it something that we have to do, or is it just the way we've always done things? So when you can when you can, make sure you involve the team in the process of change. And you heard me talk a little bit about that earlier. Make sure that you involve the team. Like I said, it doesn't mean anything is necessarily going to change, but as soon as you get the information, you need to tell the team, let me talk to you about this change. If you know that in 6 months your company is moving, don't wait and tell them 3 weeks before and tell them to pack up the whole entire space. Don't do that, because it's not going to go well. So sometimes this is possible, sometimes it's not. When it is, try to make sure that it happens. And then also ensure that you are available to explain the change to staff. That is a big one, because a lot of times what happens is when change happens, we send in somebody else. And as the lead of the organization or management, senior management, middle management, make sure that you are there, because I've seen it. You know, people will have, you know, the program coordinator, or, you know, hey, I'm just going to get this to this person, and you just send out an email, let them know it's coming. Make sure that you are available to explain the changes to staff. Don't just push down changes without explanations. There's always a why. And sometimes you can't give all the information about the why, but a lot of times you can give some context. So make sure that you don't push down changes without explanations. So take time to care. Have fun. It's okay to play sometimes. Make sure that you have team values. I love this. You know, all of our agencies have missions and visions, but as a team, what are our values? What are those things that we as a team, this is what we pride ourselves on? Have some team values. And this is a good, when you have a lot of transition in the team and you bring on new team members, this is a fun exercise to do, because it gets people working together. So, hey, you know, this staff meeting or this time, we're going to focus on some values for the team. And people will get excited about that. Pay attention. People like to know that you see them. I love this thing. I love to give compliments. I love it, love it, love it. And I'm just a little trinket, little token person is one of my love languages, but I like to pay attention to people. People like to know that you see them. And so as a manager, recognize those changes about people. Hey, okay, I see you, you know, got some new glasses. Okay, that's a nice bag. That's a nice this. Hey, you know what? I've noticed, like, when you first came here, it was this way, but woo, now I see you doing your thing. You're getting your documentation done on Thursdays. So Friday, you're able to just review your notes. People like to know that you see them. People like to know their managers see them. So pay attention to people. You don't have to wait to schedule a meeting to recognize someone. When good things happen, give immediate praise. You don't have to wait. You don't have to wait to that once a year when you do a person email address to tell them all the good things. When good things happen, give immediate praise. It's okay to send a person an email, slide a little card under their door. You know, hey, I appreciate you. You know, sometimes I come in the office, it's a little sticker attached to my phone or my computer. I appreciate you. It's the little things, right? Because you don't have to schedule something formal to say thank you for what you do and I appreciate you. And then going back to what I said earlier, part of showing that you care is being visible. Don't stay closed in your office. Be visible. And this kind of comes into play when there's something big going on with the team. Get out there and see how you can help. Hey, I'm here. Let me know. Is there something that I can do? Especially those of you all that do direct service and you're working with clients or you having events. Hey, you know what? What can I do? How can I help? How can I support? A lot of times people are going to say, you know what? We got it. Go sit down somewhere. But you want to make sure you're visible and you want to make sure that you offer. Ensure that the team feels empowered to prioritize taking care of themselves and their families. We need people to come to work for our agencies to run, but the job is not who they are. The job is not their whole life, their world. They have families and they also need to take care of themselves. So make sure you create a culture that promotes that. We talk to people on the phone and they're falling out, choking, coughing, and they're like, yeah, we were told nobody could take off this week. Yeah, but you're sick. But they just gonna have to send me home because I had to let them see me. That's not strength-based. Encourage vacation and days off. If people got 678 days of vacation time on the books, why? When you're sitting with them, you need to encourage, hey, when is your next vacation? Hey, I want to see you take some time off. Let's go ahead and talk about what 2 days you're going to take off. You know what? In May, why don't you take 2 Fridays off? It'll give you a 3-day weekend. Encourage people to take care of themselves. And then don't be punitive. You can hold people accountable without being punitive. We are not some big, we want people to be afraid of us or you're going to expect my authority or whatever the case may be. No, we don't have to be punitive to hold people accountable. So we want to make sure that we're saying to people, we care about you. And because we care about you, we support you and you have what you need. We know you're going to do a good job. So be consistent. Be consistent. Set clear standards. You can't flip-flop. One of the struggles that people have with being good managers is they're not consistent and they don't have boundaries. And so there's this gray area, right? It's okay. It was okay yesterday, but today is not. Like, what's up? What's going on? Make sure you set clear standards. Say what you mean and mean what you say. Use ethical communication. A lot of times, especially with new managers, people struggle with this. And I wasn't, and then the next thing I know, say what you mean what you say, and then make sure you're using ethical, straight up conversation. Don't make irrational decisions that are crisis driven. This is a big one in human services. We get on the crisis hamster wheel and then we make irrational decisions. And then next week you like, oh my God, why did we decide to do that? That makes no sense. It's because there was a crisis in the moment and you made a crisis-driven decision. If it's not impacting the safety of the organization or the team, don't make irrational decisions. It is okay to say, you know what? Give me a moment. Let me spend some time with this. Let me think about this a little bit. Tomorrow morning, I'll get back to the team or I'll get back to you. And then we can kind of talk it through a little bit and make the best decision. But don't make crisis-driven decisions. 9 times out of 10, when you make crisis-driven decisions, it's not the best decision. And then consistency allows for accountability. It's very hard to hold people accountable when you're not consistent. So consistency allows for accountability. And then consistency in leadership also makes the team feel valued. So you want to make sure that you are consistent because that's what makes the team feel valued. A lot of times we're talking to people and they're like, well, last week, they were just happy. And then this week, all of a sudden they came in and, we can't do this, we can't do that. This has to change. Everybody need to be here at 7:56. That lack of consistency doesn't make people feel valued. But be consistent because consistency makes people feel valued. And you can only hold people accountable when you're consistent. Because when you're inconsistent, you can't even remember what's going on. All right, so tools to remember. Managing is a learned skill. Teamwork. So that is a big one, because a lot of times people just assume because I have a position, because I have a title, it makes me a good manager. That's not true. Managing is a learned skill. Teamwork occurs where there's an element of trust. We're not going to have the synergy we need and be a healthy team where there's no trust. The most effective training method is role modeling. People learn what they see, hear, and feel. What are you modeling? What are you putting in the atmosphere? And then lastly, remember, accountability doesn't have to be punitive. People shouldn't have that fear of retaliation. People shouldn't feel like when they let their humans show or they make a mistake, they're going to be handled in a way that's not strength-based. I have terminated people and people have said thank you, because the termination went just that well and it was time for them to go and they know they weren't doing their best work, but it was nothing punitive or mean about it. You can manage people with the heart. All right. So any questions or anything? All right.
Can we get a copy of the slides?
I have a Word version of this. I will share that version. Yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
And then remember, Justin puts this on our YouTube channel. You'll probably also see it on Facebook. So we'll make sure that you get it as well.
All right, awesome.
Well, if we don't have any questions, I see the feedback in the chat as well. Thank you all very much. Like I said, if you have any questions or just want to talk through things, this is the stuff that I love. We do a lot of training, working with managers, working with teams. Happy to just have some conversation with you and see what we can do to help you get to the next level. You know, what are some challenges? You know, hey, this is innovative, I want to try this. Then feel free to reach out, because as I said, we can't do what we do without our teams. And so it's important that we manage our teams well and we support them as much as possible. So you all be well. Justin has his hands up.
I do have one announcement, and this is just a shameless plug for our event next week. We do have our Thought Leader Forum for all of our executive directors next week, February 21st at Hotel Indigo, starting at 1 o'clock. This is an executive director focused event. So all our middle managers, we will be engaging you all sometime in April. Just wanted to put that out there, but we definitely wanted to let you all know that we have that ED event coming up on February 21st at Hotel Indigo again from 1 o'clock till 3 o'clock. So thank you all for joining us again. That's the only announcement I had.
Awesome. Well, bye y'all. We will see you soon. If you missed the middle management meetup last week, training on conflict resolution, make sure you look out for the next one. And then ED, need to see you in the place next week. So see y'all later. Be well.